Hi, I'm Queen V.
And I am Dr. E. Queen V, who is our audacious person that we'll be talking about today?
Today, we are talking about one of my personal favorites, Dr. E, and it is Dr. Dorothy Height. And she was at past tense because she died in 2010, but she was one of the most phenomenal civil rights leaders of her age. She was born in Richmond, Virginia in 1912. And she was a center speaker and a supporter of the March on Washington, where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a speaker. She wasn't even supposed to be a speaker because unbeknownst to a lot of people, even with the civil rights movement, they were a little kind of backwards as far as women were concerned. And they did not, a lot of the civil rights leaders did not promote women as much as they should have, as much as the women deserve. But Dr. Dorothy Height was such a character and had so much gravitas in her own personhood that she was on the podium, rightfully so, with all of the other civil rights leaders.
Well, you know, it's interesting. When she was educated, she wasn't allowed to go to school like most, that some of the other civil rights leaders were able to get into schools, etc., because they're men. But what was it about her? I mean, women, for the most part, I'm talking about Black women, were not allowed to go to school, was not admitted into certain schools. Let's talk a little bit about her audacity to believe that, yes, I can go to school and I can get admitted into whatever school I want to. Let's talk about that for a second.
Well, she actually was, because of her track record and her history, she was admitted to Barnard College, white university, of course, but because they did not admit African Americans, when they admitted her because of her record, they did not realize her race. Go figure. Okay. Once they found out that she was African American, Dr. E, they revoked the invitation.
Wait, hold up. Okay, now can you repeat that again?
I said that once they realized that Dr. Dorothy Height was African American, you know, because of her stellar record, she was admitted. But the race, it was like, oh no, we don't do African American. So because of that, she went to New York University, where she graduated and received her bachelor's degree. She went on to receive her master's in psychology. And then she went on, always progressing up the ladder, to the YWCA of New York. She totally transformed the YMCA to national, international standards. And she had I believe, a godly encounter with Mary McLeod Bethune.
Okay, all right.
We just had our whole podcast about, right? And because of Mary McLeod Bethune, this is why relationships are so critical. Amen. Like our relationship. She was inspired to begin to work for the National Council of Negro Women. Well, that was a destiny move for Dr. Dorothy Height, because she remained president of the National Council of Negro Women, which you know very well, is still in existence today, but she was their president and responsible for their growth for 40 years.
Wow, that's amazing, 40 years. Queen V, you mentioned the YWCA. Just so that the audience know what that is the Young Women's Christian Association.
Yeah.
So what I really love about Dorothy Height is that she had this foundation, a Christian belief centered foundation that was in part utilized to really promote her belief in you can do anything you set your mind to. She never took no for an answer. She kept going. She wanted to make sure that women were treated equally to men. I could really appreciate her opening that door wide so that you and I can walk through those doors where we stand today. Let's talk a little bit more about this 40-year career and her relationship with Mary McLeod Bethune. That is just incredible because we know Mary wasn't playing. She was the entrepreneur of entrepreneurs, okay? So as you said, when we form our relationships, we need to center ourselves around like-minded people. We need to center ourselves around people that it's going to lift us up and not tear us down. And so I can see how Dorothy Height made sure that she was around those movers and those shakers, and she was able to borrow some of their strength to continue to move forward. Because I'll tell you, Queen V, just like you and I, we are like-minded on so many different levels. And being like-minded, we're able to move forward arm in arm, locked in arm in arm. If we weren't like-minded, I'll tell you, it will make it really difficult to hang out with you all the time. There will be stress, there will be drama, there will be all this stuff. But I understand that Dr. Height put herself in a position not only to help people, but she got other individuals that helped promote what she believed in.
Absolutely. And you know, she was such an influencer. What I love about Dr. Height, and I still remember this about her, because she's been a force, as you well know, in the civil rights movement for forever. Dr. E, she was elegant. She was always classy, always dressed beautifully, soft-spoken, but she was an iron fist in a velvet glove. She knew how to get things done, but she never needed to raise her voice or act out of character to do it. So she was a real example of strong, powerful, yet feminine womanhood. And I so admired that about her. And even though she was not allowed to speak at the March on Washington, they originally, as I said, didn't want any women on the stage, but her gravitas demanded that it was appropriate for her to be there because she was known for her skills as an organizer. And that's why she was so powerful with the National Council of Negro Women. Not only that, she was an advisor. Now look at this. She was an advisor to Dwight Eisenhower and Lyndon B. Johnson. Remember how her mentor, Mary McLeod Bethune, was an advisor to Franklin Roosevelt, to FDR. She followed in her footsteps for her generation because she was younger, of course, than Mary McLeod Bethune. But it's so important. And what I'm trying to show is that we have to leave breadcrumbs for those that are coming behind us. And that's what we're doing with this podcast. We are showing others how to succeed, how to achieve, how to get where they want to or need to be, or called to be, audaciously, unapologetically, but classily. Because audacity for us, for our terminology, means daring greatly. It doesn't mean acting out of character. It doesn't mean being rude. We are audaciously positive and progressive.
Amen. Well, you know, Queen V, that's I love what you just expressed, and that just reminds me of how Dr. Height wasn't afraid to address Congress about ending lynching for African Americans and reconstructing the criminal justice system. Oftentimes, I hear about people making it to a certain level or whatever it is, and then they figure, well, I made it on my own, and I can just rest on my laurels, let them behind me struggle and figure it out themselves. They can pick themselves up by the bootstraps. Well, I have a real issue with that. And people like Dr. Height that said, you know what? I'm in a position where I can open my mouth. I'm in a position where I can confront certain things. Now, it wasn't going to be easy for her. It wasn't easy for her at all, but she kept coming back. She had the resilience to keep rising. She had the fortitude to be able to say, you know what, I have to do what I have to do. Find people. You mentioned she's an organizer. Hey, when you're an organizer, you're going to get like-minded people to be around you, and you're going to lock arms together, and you're going to move forward with the same voice and with the same talking points to get things done. Too often, Sissy, Queen V, things happen in our lives where we get tired. And I'll say this, what I love, love, love about Dr. Height is that she educated so many, and I'm not going to even say left the breadcrumb. She left a loaf of bread for a lot of people to say, take this knowledge and move forward and train people like in like mind and quality and character, the whole 9 yards, to keep pressing forward. And so here it is in the year 2020, we're still dealing with issues of lynching. It's not the same as it was, the fight, the same as it was back in her day, but we still have the same kinds of issues that we're still fighting. And we can never stop fighting, Queen V, which brings up to Stacey Abrams. She had to keep fighting in her own right, in her own area, just so that people of color, particularly African Americans, could vote. And we're talking about 2020. And so
2021, absolutely.
Okay, 2021, yes. Okay, right now. Yes, and so I think
now.
About what our ancestors and people that came before us, all the fights or whatever, the fight has only just begun. It's because when you look out and you think about the world that it is today, it's like you look out, there's always something going on. And when we see something going on, we could either stop it, we could address it, or we could be brave enough to say, you know what, I cannot ignore this. I got to keep pressing on and keep moving forward. So what do you have to say about her 40-year tenure with the NCNW to keep moving that civil rights needle so that people can have the right to do various things?
Well, because of her steadfastness, because of her stellar record, because of her sacrifice and endurance, 40 years, my God, you know, of being the head of a national organization and seeing it through transitional growth and all of that is amazing. Not only that, she traveled extensively abroad, serving as a visiting professor for the University of Delhi, India, and with the Black Women's Federation of South Africa. So not only was she a national treasure, but she was an international hero. So many people looked up to Dr. Height. For all of her efforts during the civil rights movement, she was awarded and recognized, of course, but she received the Citizens Medal Award by President Ronald Reagan in 2004. Can you believe that?
Well, you know what's interesting? She cut across party lines.
Yes.
So when you have Republicans and paying respect and giving honors to someone that is a Democrat, it goes to show that they honored her based on her works, not based on her affiliations.
Absolutely. Yeah. And she was honored with the Congressional Gold Medal because when you are of a quality that you are so good you can't be ignored, you can't be ignored by anybody of any, I mean, they may try to disregard you, denigrate you, but if you are of the excellence and the stellar record and you persevere like Dr. Dorothy Height, you cannot be ignored. You are too good to be ignored. And what I love about her, there is that old African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. Mm-hmm. But if you want to go far, build a team. Mm-hmm. She was an excellent team builder. She knew how to take it all It wasn't all about her. She knew that in order for the civil rights movement to go forward, that things had to be organized and people had to be brought together, and she would have to bring the young ones up. And she was so prolific and amazing at doing that. And I think that that is the secret sauce to her success,
Yes.
that she really was such an organizing team builder.
Well, you know, she lived a long time. I lived to be 98 years old, and that's admirable to live that long. And she was still out there doing stuff. I mean, equality and moving forward just it flowed in her body. It was just in her. And for her to be, her funeral was held at the the Washington National Cathedral. I mean, wow. I mean, we're talking about somebody that couldn't get admitted into particular schools because of the color of her skin. And yet all doors open, every knee bowed, and every tongue confessed that this lady was bad to the bone, that she was
bad, audacious to the bone.
Yes.
And that is absolutely so true. And I really believe in all of it, that God has a sense of humor, don't you?
Yes, indeed.
That, you know, here you are. And right now I am certain that Bernard College would love to be able to claim Dr. Dorothy Height. But because there were small-minded individuals there that could not see, you know, past their nose, apparently, that they do not have the honor of having her as a graduate, because she was so much bigger than that college at that time. So it's just amazing. I love her story. Now, the 3 audacious takeaways, A to B, with Dr. Dorothy Height. You know, what do you believe would be her number 1 audacious characteristic?
Well, I'll tell you, Queen V, I think her being a fighter. I mean, she was a fighter and faith. That's 2 of them. But bottom line is that she knew that she could do what God appointed her to do. That was her faith. And she had to fight just to show that I'm going to do this. I was put on this earth to do this, and I'm not going to stop. So that's number 1. Number 2, she was dedicated. She wasn't going to stop no matter what. Her dedication got her up in the morning, and it also got her to bed at night. Is because she worked her plan, and she planned her work. And the other is commitment. She was committed to do what she was ordained and called by God to do. I really believe that when God calls you to do something, you're not going to get tired. You're going to get tired, but you're not going to quit. Now you can sit down. You can even feel sorry for yourself every now and then, but you dust yourself off, and then you get back up and you keep going. So she was committed. She was committed till the day she died. And so with that, Queen V, what do you think that her A to B 1, 2, 3 is?
I love your A to B 1, 2, 3, and I concur with you as well. But my A to B 1, 2, 3 with her was that she was organized.
Okay.
You know, she had to be organized, have her ducks lined up, have a vision, and have a plan to be able to do all that she did. Number 2, that she was a collaborator, that she knew enough that the fight was too big for one single person. So she knew how to collaborate and bring groups together. And then finally, I think that she was excellent at teamwork. You know, teamwork and team building is a skill. And she was so skillful at it because people wanted to follow her. You know, when you're a strong leader, people want to follow you. You engage them, they see your vision, they see your plan, and they see your integrity. They want to follow you. And that's why she was such an audacious leader of the National Council of Negro Women for 40 years. Wow. You cannot retain that position.
That's right.
Without being an audacious, unapologetic, bad to the bone leader. And I really believe that Dr. Dorothy Height was exactly that.
Okay, well, you know, wow, that you said a mouthful in terms of what she stood for, and just these wonderful, audacious 1, 2, 3 moments that we're putting together. But let me say this for our listening and viewing audience: when they're going through life, and whether it's a job, regardless of the job, regardless of what they're doing in life, we all need encouragement. What can we say to our to whoever's listening to us to keep pressing forward? Or sometimes we got to pivot and we have to change our strategy, just like Dr. Height did. When she wasn't admitted into one school, she found another school. She wasn't going to be begging nobody to let them in or whatever it is. What can we say to give people the hope, to give them the strength to keep pressing forward with their dreams?
I think when you hit it, when you said the call, when you are called, when you know that there is something that you are assigned to do on this earth, then that gives you the strength to be unstoppable. Doesn't mean that you won't get sad, depressed, have obstacles and shut doors like Dr. Dorothy Height. Absolutely not. But it means that you, along with God, grit and grace, that you will have the fortitude to keep pressing forward. So I believe that number one, it's the call. You have to know that no matter what anybody says, you cannot take no for an answer. Their no is someone else's yes. You know, every closed window means that God is going to fling open an open door for you to walk through. But we cannot be so afraid that we are afraid to go forward. So I think that the call is the thing that gives us the strength to keep going forward.
Okay, you know, Queen Bee, you just brought something to my mind, and that is the call. You know, I remember one time talking to my mother. This was over 30 years ago. And my mother said to me, she says, you know, Marilyn, you know, you have a mission in life. And when you know your mission, then nothing's going to stop you. And then I said to my mother, I said, well, what is my mission? I wanted her to tell me my mission. And my mother said, baby, I can't tell you your mission. Your mission is something that God lets you know about. And when you know your mission, when God impresses upon you what that mission is, you will know it. And it wasn't until after my mother died that I realized that my mission is to do exactly what I'm doing right now. But it took all those years because I was looking externally for people to tell me what I needed to do with my life and to tell me what my mission ought to be or whatever, when in fact, my mother said, no, Marilyn, I can't tell you your mission. Only God can tell you. And when I learned what my mission was, or I accepted that, then I was able to keep rising. And when, you know, nothing can stop me or block me, it's because, as you say, with God, you're unstoppable, you are unsinkable, you are undrownable. You're not going to let the external stop you from what you need to do. It's because when God gives it to you, nobody can take it away from you. So I do appreciate that. So people need to look within themselves. What is your mission? That's their personal challenge. And once you know your mission, then you can keep pressing forward, and your destiny will be greatness, and greatness is your destiny.
Absolutely. You know, Dr. E, there is a scripture that says the gifts and calling of God is without repentance. And that means that God doesn't change his mind about who he called you to be. You know, sometimes people confuse perfection with assignment. And they think, oh, well, I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. I have a past. I have a history. This happened, that happened. So I'm no longer called. I'm no longer, I no longer have God's favor. I don't have an assignment. But your call never leaves you. And that is the thing that will keep you awake. It will bug you day and night. Yeah. And like you said, I believe that it takes time to grow into your call, just like in a cocoon. You know, monarch butterflies don't come out, you know, with beautiful spread, glorious wings overnight. They have to struggle and fight in that cocoon and get all of their limbs limbered up with the fight. Well, that's the same for us. We become who God called us to be through the fight, through the struggle, through the rejection, through the years, through the yearning and excelling and learning. You know, all of that is a part of the call. And when you, like you said, and I concur, when you are in the midst of your call, nothing is like it. You know that you are exactly where you are supposed to be.
Hey, enough said. That is beautiful. I'll tell you my advice to individuals. Yeah, find that calling. If you don't know your calling, find the calling. But whatever inspires you when you wake up in the morning, find that inspiration throughout the day. Find that inspiration when you get tired at night or tired during the day and you feel like you can't go on anymore. Find that inspiration, however you define what that inspiration is. So Queen V, this has been amazing. I love how we're able to look at the past and see these people. Like, bottom line, we should never forget our past. We can't be so mired in right now that we forget the people that came before us and the struggles and the fight. The fight is going to keep going. As long as I have breath in my body, I know I'm always have to fight, but I'm cut out for it. And so if we keep ourselves balanced in body, mind, and spirit, that's one thing I absolutely believe is keeping that pyramid, keep it in balance, body, mind, and spirit. Keep it balanced, however you define it, however you see it, then you're good to go for the next battle. That's always about ready. It's always around the corner. There's always a battle around the corner. There's always a struggle because there is no utopia in life, but it's the way we see life. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 1,000%. You know, but aren't we blessed that we can learn the lessons from those that came before us? And, you know, so much, Dr. E, I have to tell you, when I have had opportunities to want to stop, and everybody will have opportunities to want to stop, to just want to throw in the towel, to want to quit. I think about those that survived the Middle Passage, that never leaves me. And I think, my God, if my ancestors could survive, you know, being kidnapped, you know, taken hostage all the way from Africa and being sardines, you know, on a ship. And the very fact that we are sitting here is proof positive that they were too brave to die. It would have been easier for them to die. But because they insisted on living, and I think they thought of us when they insisted on living, because everybody didn't live.
That's
that
right.
that was you know, some people when they got a chance to go overboard or whatever, they took the easy route. But our ancestors stuck it out and they endured it for us. So every time I think about that, I get my chin up and I'm like, oh, you will not die.
That's right. That's right. We
You
don't
will
have that
not
choice.
stop.
Yeah, we got it. We have to keep it moving and grooving
Yeah.
no matter what. Just keep it going because we have breath in our bodies. I'm just happy to be alive because not everybody is going to wake up in the morning. So
That's
we
right.
are blessed beyond. That's all I can tell you. And so
Blessed.
Queen V, we are now having to end our wonderful message. So what do you have to say? Final remarks?
Final remarks. This has been such a joy. And for all of our listeners and our viewers that want to continue the joy and the journey with us, they can find us at Queen V and DrE.com. We are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, SoundCloud, and more platforms to come. And we encourage them to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And, you know, so they will know and hit the notification so they will know when we are on next. Now, we are always viewing at 11 a.m. on Thursdays, Pacific Standard Time.
Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Queen V, let's get ready to do it again next time. I'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.